Harry's Wife, Part 104.29. Nutter. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You'll recall, in the excerpts that were provided from Tom Bower's Revenge and the main reading, that Harry's wife was basically referred to as being a bit of a nutter by Harry's friends. This, of course, was indicative of the attitude of those non-intimate secondary sources once they had spent some time with her. Some narcissists operate a facade where they're jolly decent and lovely to the friends of the intimate partner primary source in order to draw people in. However, friends and family, of course, pose a threat to the control over the intimate partner primary source. And therefore, if the friends are saying to that intimate partner primary source, "Oh, don't be watching that documentary about mung beans. Come and get absolutely shit-faced with us, and then we're going to ride a pig around the grounds. Come on, ginger bollocks." And if ginger bollocks, of course, enjoying getting absolutely munted on fine wines and riding on the back of a pig around the grounds, decides that that's what he wants to do, well, of course, that poses a problem to the narcissist because the narcissist doesn't have control over him. It makes the narcissist feel small and weak and vulnerable. And therefore, the narcissism goes, "Okay, guys, let's get into action here. What we need to do is ensure that the intimate partner primary source is brought back under control. How can we do this? Well, we could offer some kind of inducement, some flattery, some compliments, some spicy poontang to turn his head. That's an option. We could, of course, smear the friends and make out that they're ruffians and not to be trusted. Whisper some poison in the ear of the intimate partner primary source to cause him to think, what? Chunderbucket did that, did he? And of course, in some instances, although there is the presence of a facade, the narcissist's need for control over the intimate partner primary source outweighs the necessity of maintaining a facade to non-intimate secondary source family and friends. Why? Simple. The IPPS is far more important. The IPPS gets that position because they are the easiest person to control who fulfills the fuel needs, character trait needs, and residual benefit needs of the narcissist better than anybody else. And therefore, they are the crown jewels. They are there to be protected. Now, whilst the former intimate partner primary source has fuel that's more potent than an intimate partner primary source, they don't attend to character traits and residual benefits and invariably tend to be harder to control, hence their former. But that intimate partner primary source is the most precious appliance for the narcissist. And if that means that the narcissist has to show a bit of a nasty side in front of friends and family to preserve control over the IPPS, then it will happen. Often, of course, and with more evolved narcissists, they are able to control the IPPS and the non-intimate secondary sources whilst maintaining a facade of being decent and fun and all the other things. And everybody thinks the narcissist is a jolly decent chap or chapess. But mid-rangers, because their facade is decent but prone to cracks and fractures, will find themselves from time to time struggling in this power dynamic between the necessity of total control over the IPPS whilst nullifying the threats to control posed by non-intimate secondary sources, with the result that family members and friends may well think, don't like this new person, obviously who is the narcissist. They don't recognise them as a narcissist, but they think, we never see much of Harry these days because he's always with her, or Jumbo never comes out anymore because he's always with his new girlfriend. Or mother thinks, yet again, they've not turned up to a family dinner. I don't know what it is that we've done. And through a variety of both benign and malign activities, the narcissist maintains that control over the intimate partner primary source, driving a wedge between them and friends and family to maintain that all-important control. Those of you who've been involved with a narcissist will have seen this happen many times. You will also undoubtedly have found yourself caught between pleasing the narcissist and your friends and family, because often the demands of the two don't meet in accordance. Thus, when it came to that incident of a weekend away, Harry's wife's narcissism decreed that in order to keep control over Harry, It meant that she had to show a bit of a dark side towards the friends of Harry, and thus they were not left with a very good impression of her. She, of course, succeeded. She kept her grip on Harry, and she doesn't care so much about the non-intimate secondary sources, because not only are they ranked lower in the fuel hierarchy, in the fuel matrix, but there's lots of them that can be replaced. So even if she doesn't utilize them, they can be shut off and put on the shelf, and other ones come in instead. If you want to see how that dynamic works with the shifting of the various positions, please go to the Knowledge Vault and obtain pipelines and also understanding changes to the narcissist fuel matrix. You'll find them really helpful. Now, this all revolved around, of course, Tom Bower providing the revelation that Harry's friends described Harry's wife as a nutter. Not something that will come much of a surprise to those of you listening to me. However, it's always quite entertaining because the person that writes for NetflixJunkie.com, Shredded Ass, which sounds like shredded arse, clearly is a supporter of Harry's wife. But this is when you get somebody that doesn't really understand the nuances of what's going on, and they end up doing more harm than good. And it's always entertaining to see how those supporters of Harry's wife actually end up fucking it up. The article states, Harry's friends all said she was a nutter. Royal journalist Tom Bower claims the Duke's friends were ridiculed by the Duchess, Harry's wife. Now, of course, this is something that's been brought up from a few months ago, and therefore, whilst this supporter is evidently doing so to try and help Harry's wife, all it's doing is reaffirming the view of everybody that she is indeed a nutter. She writes, although Harry's wife and Prince Harry are quite content with their marital life, really? Okay, if you say so. It seems like almost everyone was against the pair tying the knot. To this date, we have only heard of the palace having inconveniences adjusting to the pair. Well, actually, it was the other way round, but hey. However, it turns out there were some other acquaintances from their own generation who did not like the fit. Turns out some of the prince's confidants were against their marriage. Along with some other blistering comments that the self-acclaimed royal biographer launched on the couple, especially Harry's wife, Tom Bower also added that some of Harry's best friends did not like the presence of Harry's wife. He then narrated an incident in support of his statements that revealed the Duke's friends found it awkward to adjust to the Duchess. As per the British writer and other sources too, the prince had once invited a bunch of his pals to spend a weekend at a private residence of British monarchs. There were 16 of his former Eton University classmates who were to join the couple at Sandringham House. The Duke was looking forward to an exciting weekend with his longtime friends. However, all of them were left agitated, confronting Harry's wife and her ways. In fact, they considered her a nutter, said Bower. The Duchess's lack of sense of humour made Harry's friends disappointed in her, which resulted in an eventless gathering. She would not stand any jokes or remarks regarding sexism or racism that made guests feel constrained and uncomfortable. Harry, on his part, was unprepared for Harry's wife's sudden confrontation, says Bower. Eventually, his friends lessened their visits to the Sussexes, leaving Harry isolated and unaccompanied, precisely what Harry's wife's narcissism needed to secure. Targeting Harry's secluded life, revolving around his wife only, profoundly royal expert and former New York Times editor-in-chief Tina Brown reported he has become emotionally needy. She also reflected on how distancing themselves from their royal base in the United Kingdom has completely changed his personality. In times of disparity and grief, Harry's wife seems to answer some huge need in Harry, according to Brown. What are your opinions on this matter? Asks the author. Are you in accord with the royal experts expressed below? And nobody does, as is always the case. And therefore, this Harry's wife supporter brings up once again the accusations of her being a nutter, which provides me with an opportunity to explain to you the different power dynamic that takes place and how the facade can be dented, whereas required should control need to be maintained over that all-important intimate partner primary source. Once again, understanding narcissism helps you understand completely why Harry's wife behaves as she does. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.